hey, I wasn't expecting to see you here. I was just out taking a stroll in the wilderness, and I think I may have gotten a bit lost. Luckily, I ran into you though, but since I've got you here, we might as well talk a little X-Files. Today we're looking at Detour, episode 4 of season 5. Debuting November 23rd, 1997, Detour takes our agents deep into the forests of Florida. Of course it's Florida. Where they come across creatures capable of turning invisible. This seems kind of familiar. Detour begins with a couple surveyors off in the woods of Florida doing surveyor things, but I've got to ask, do the woods in Florida generally have wooden platforms laying about? We've got one guy who really seems to hate the woods and can't wait for it to be paved over, and another guy who's very much pro-nature.
Alright, let's shoot this next one real carefully, Marty, because this is where they're gonna put the blockbuster.
You're a real moron, Sloan, you know that?
Blockbuster, a sign of a much better time. This whole interaction feels very similar to how Quagmire started, with the two scientists arguing over the frog population.
A frog holocaust is currently being executed, Dr. Bailey, and man is the executioner.
God, I hate frog holocaust deniers. Anyways, one of the surveyors attempts to move his little marker, or whatever it is, but it seems to be stuck in something that appears to be bleeding. How resilient are these things, because this guy just stabbed it straight through the chest. Anyways, he goes down and his buddy quickly realizes that he might be screwed. I mean really screwed. I'm guessing sometime later in the morning we've got a father teaching his son all about hunting when they come across the surveyor's equipment and a lot of blood. The dad realizes that something isn't quite right and tells his son to take off while he says a friendly hello to whatever might be out there. Sounds like he said hello twice. Anyways, Mulder and Scully are on their way to some lame-ass team-building seminar, but at least Mulder seems enthusiastic about it.
Kill me now.
Now, why would these two of all people need to work on team building? I feel like this whole thing was just set up as a punishment because they never listen. Luckily, they run into a little road closure, which Mulder takes as an excuse to get out of the car because I think he was about to lose it on these two. Suddenly, a random woman runs up to Mulder asking if he's part of the search group looking for her husband. And while that is important, I'm wondering how Mulder managed to throw slacks on when he was wearing jeans in the car. Anyways, the woman tells him about her missing husband, and Mulder, who was just supposed to be stretching his legs, is like, sure, I can go looking for your missing husband. You've got to feel a little bad for Scully, because she is always getting dragged into Mulder's nonsense. Mulder meets with Officer Michelle Fazekas, who I guess is the one in charge. She's a little confused as to why the FBI just randomly showed up, but at least she's not immediately dismissive of their presence.
There was a third set of tracks leading away I couldn't identify.
Couldn't identify as the surveyors?
As man or animal.
Scully walks up and she's like, Mulder, we've got to go. But unfortunately for you, Scully, it's a little too late for that. Mulder just found out about unidentified tracks, so I don't think he's going anywhere. Mulder tells Scully to let them know he won't be making it to the teamwork seminar this year. But what is she gonna say exactly? Oh, sorry, he can't make it. There's some weird footprints in the dirt and he just needs to know what they are. Later that night, the young boy whose father was attacked is watching The Invisible Man. I don't know who got this kid on the old Universal monster movies, but they got good taste. As his mother cleans up for the night, their dog Bo, who, let's be honest, is the real star of the show, seems a little on edge, almost as if it senses something out in the woods. Meanwhile, Mulder and Scully decide to have a little get-together in Mulder's motel room. Alright, now things are getting interesting.
Partay.
However, I must remind you this goes against the Bureau's policy of male and female agents consorting in the same motel room while on assignment.
Yeah, but as long as everyone keeps their mouths shut, who's gonna find out? Mulder really sets the mood when he starts going on about animals that attack the strongest before the weakest. Yeah, that always gets the ladies going. Mulder believes what happened was a primitive culling technique, and he needs to leave to do a little bit more digging around, leaving Scully with her wine and cheese very confused. Although is alcohol really the best idea? We already know what happens when she drinks around someone who might look like Mulder. Poor Bo is losing his damn mind because he knows something is out there. For some reason, the mother lets him out, but what if it's a bear? It seems like a really bad idea to just let your dog out in the middle of the night. Anyways, mom tries to go back inside the house, but wouldn't you know it, the door's locked. I'm sure everything is okay though. It's not like there would be some unseen horror waiting for her son. Well, that's absolutely terrifying. The young boy bolts it, and luckily for him, he just so happens to run into Mulder, who I guess knew this creature would be stalking the kid. The following morning, Scully has this whole mystery solved. Clearly the kid was just having nightmares about the Invisible Man. There's no way there are actual invisible monsters. That would be stupid. Mulder brings Scully to the back door and shows her footprints that appear to be made by something that walks on the ball of the foot, which is generally not how people walk. The look on Scully's face when he describes all this to her just kills me. Michelle shows up and pretty much confirms everything Mulder has just said. She found the same strange tracks out in the woods. They decide the best course of action is to track this thing down before it can get to anyone else. For this, they hire on local tech head Jeff Glazer, a total badass with state-of-the-art equipment. Michelle then casually drops that, "Oh, by the way, your cell phones aren't gonna work out here, so you won't be needing them." This might lead to Mulder losing his mind, because I'm not sure he can function without his.
If you get lost, initiate oral contact. That means holler.
Whew, I'm glad she cleared that up. I thought she meant something much different. Scully tells Mulder local police are searching for a drifter that may be responsible for the disappearances, but Mulder doesn't think it's a drifter, and he doesn't think there's just one either. Wow, these Florida woods sure are nice. Oh, I hope that's not breadcrumbs, Michelle. Oh shit, I guess it doesn't matter. Jeff picks up something on the thermal camera, so I guess that means everyone should just blindly run after it. There actually turns out to be two of them, just like Mulder said, and what does everyone do? Well, they split up, of course. You only have one thermal camera and one person that knows how to use it, but nah, let's make it easier for the monsters to eat us. Michelle goes down pretty hard and quick. Now maybe if Scully was a little closer to her, that may not have happened. Mulder then comes running for Scully, and as you can clearly see, it's been raining. But when he gets to Scully, his hair is nice and dry and poofy. Mulder points out that these things divided them so they could be picked off one by one, and Michelle was likely considered the strongest since she was leading. Scully tries using her phone, completely forgetting what Michelle told her earlier.
We weren't prepared for this. We have no way of telling them where we are. We don't have any food. Michelle had her only water.
So they decided to enter the woods and look for some invisible monsters, but didn't bring any food or more than one bottle of water just in case something went wrong. It's as if they wanted to die. Instead of searching for Michelle, they decide to head back so they can get a little more prepared. Hilariously, Mulder tells Jeff in a sort of sheepish manner that he's leading the way. I guess Mulder doesn't want to be thought of as the strongest, so maybe they'll take Jeff first if he's in the lead. Jeff was probably the worst person to be put in the front because he starts freaking out when he realizes Michelle's stones are missing and they're sort of lost.
Everybody stand still.
Scully, this is no time for the mannequin challenge. Jeff picks up one of the creatures on his thermal camera, and for some reason, Mulder figures the best course of action is to leave the group, even though he literally just spoke about how the creatures are trying to divide them. Mulder chases after one of them, even shooting at it, but all that happens is he gets even further separated from the others.
Where's Glazer?
Well, that's what you get for being a wuss. Mulder's up next as one of the creatures grabs a hold of him. But wait, are you telling me they think Scully is the weakest? Have they not seen the time Scully double-legged Bear? Out of all the victims so far, for some reason Mulder has been the only one that's been capable of calling out for help. Why the others weren't able to, I have no idea. Anyway, Scully saves Mulder's ass, again. But now the two of them are lost in the middle of the woods. Scully attempts to remove a bullet from its casing so they can start a fire. But if she manages to do that, she might be the strongest human on the planet. Also, there isn't really any dry wood around, so I'm not sure what she's gonna use for fuel.
I was told once that the best way to regenerate body heat is to crawl naked into a sleeping bag with somebody else who's already naked.
Maybe if it rains sleeping bags, she'll get lucky.
Oh god, I can't with these two. Scully then kills the mood when she asks Mulder if he's ever thought about dying. I hope this doesn't mean she's about to take him out. She also somehow manages to separate the casing from the bullet, but it goes about as well as you'd expect. Scully decides to let Mulder sleep while she keeps watch, but to make sure he knows she's still up and alert, he asks her to sing, leading to one of my favorite moments in the entire series.
Jeremiah was a bullfrog, was a good friend of mine.
This cracks me up every single time. The following morning, Mulder wakes up and Scully is missing. For some reason, she thought it would be a smart idea to go looking for food and eat some random berries she found. And just like that, Scully goes missing.
I fell down a hole!
You alright?
Alright, so maybe the monsters didn't get her. But still, can you people please stick together? Down in the hole, Scully finds Michelle and she's somehow still alive. I guess these things like to save their food.
Mulder?
Yeah?
I'm not alone.
Scully seems to have lost her gun, so Mulder gives her his. As soon as he does, however, the other creature comes bolting for him, so he says screw that and jumps down with her. One of the creatures runs towards them, but Scully smokes that sucker with Mulder's gun. Somehow, and I mean somehow, one of the agents Mulder and Scully were riding with earlier finds them down in the hole. And this might be one of the worst green screens I've seen in the series so far. Everyone seemed to survive. The hunter, Michelle, no sign of Jeff though. He did run away like a little girl though, so who cares if he survived? Mulder then pulls a theory out of his ass that these creatures were part of Ponce de Leon's exploration team, who were apparently searching for the Fountain of Youth back in 1513. This sort of comes out of nowhere and is a very random explanation. It suddenly dawns on Mulder that the other creature was never found, and Scully could likely still be in danger. When he arrives at our motel though, everything seems fine. I guess the monster decided to take a hike. Detour is one of my personal favorites, and I think that comes down to its similarities to the movie Predator. You've got monsters in the woods that can seemingly turn invisible, that also attack the strongest member of the group instead of the weakest. Now take a look at Predator. There you've got a monster in the jungle that can turn invisible and will only attack someone who's armed or a perceived threat. They generally won't go after someone weak or unarmed. I've been a huge Predator fan since I saw the first two movies back when I was 9 years old, and this episode definitely scratches that itch. The explanation for what the creatures are sort of comes out of nowhere. There is a bit in the beginning where the other agents are talking about Ponce de Leon landing in America, but Mulder isn't there during this conversation. Yet by the end, he's convinced that it was either Ponce de Leon himself or his men who they encountered. I would have much preferred the Mothman explanation that Mulder dropped a few times throughout the show.
Became known as the Mothman. I got an X-file dating back to 1952 on it.
When Scully kills the creature, she says that there must be a scientific explanation for it. Well, now it's your time to find out. Scully's a scientist, so you'd think she'd be really excited to study this scientific marvel, but we never hear about it again. There was mention of the body at the end, but you'd think she'd want to check this thing out for herself. This would be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to discover what could be a real fountain of youth, or discover how it was able to cloak itself. However, they already sort of did the reverse aging thing in the season 1 episode Young at Heart, so it's probably best to just ignore that, I guess. All I'm saying is if Scully doesn't check out the body herself, it's probably going to wind up in the hands of the Syndicate, and who knows what they do with it. Surprisingly, even though Detour shares many similarities to the original Predator film, according to producer Frank Spotnitz, who wrote the episode, the idea came to him when watching the 1972 film Deliverance, a movie that is way different than Predator and known for pretty much one scene. I've never watched Deliverance, I never plan on watching Deliverance, but I know enough about it that I'm just gonna move on. Frank Spotnitz found the concept of being stranded in a dangerous and unpredictable environment fascinating, especially the creepy idea of something unseen moving through the brush. To make it even scarier, the ending was left open-ended, suggesting that the creature could still be lurking somewhere out there, and obviously it was because it was under Scully's bed. Detour was written as a simple episode. It was just going to be the agents in the woods. There were no fancy sets or large action scenes. It was just the woods, so what could go wrong? Well, the weather, that's what. For a shoot that was only supposed to take 8 days to complete, it ended up taking 19. Every day of the shoot it rained, and seeing as how nearly the entirety of the episode takes place outside during the day, this was obviously an issue. The rain pushed them back so much that they actually had to take scheduled shooting time from other episodes and allot it to this one just to stay on track. The rain caused constant delays because the actors had to have their makeup reapplied, the sound mixer had to constantly fight and keep the sound of the water dripping out of the dialogue, and one of the biggest issues turned out to be Jillian's hair. Her hair was in constant need of being straightened as the rain kept bringing out its natural curls. So throughout the episode you can kind of see stages where it's straighter or starting to curl up more. The crew became so frustrated that for the scene where Mulder and Scully cuddle up together, they decided to take things indoors and film it on a quickly built set. Another issue they ran into were the creatures themselves. Special effects supervisor Toby Lindala created these form-fitting bark suits for the actors to wear, but they became sort of awkward to move in, and in the end, much of the effects for the creatures were done in post-production anyways. Detour currently sits at 8.1 on IMDb. I really enjoy this episode, and I'm probably going to go with maybe an 8.5. Up next, we have yet another banger of an episode, when Mulder and Scully are brought in to investigate claims of a local monster and a mad scientist who might be the second coming of Dr. Frankenstein. In the episode, The Postmodern Prometheus. So what do you think of Detour? Let me know down in the comments. Anyways, while I try and figure a way out of here, I hope you have a great day and stay spooky.
Sunday on an all-new X-Files.
There's something out there. I saw it.
Just disappeared.
What is it, Mulder?
How can you stop a predator
Scully!
you can't see?
Mulder, I'm not alone.
An all-new X-Files, Sunday at 9, 8 Central. So many secrets, just one Fox.